love lives here.
Here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, this year we are working with the theme of timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. Timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. We recognize that there is this timeless wisdom of the ages that is throughout all of the world's faith traditions. There is this golden thread of truth that exists throughout all of life, throughout all of creation, that that always was and always will be. There is no beginning, there is no end. There just simply is the isness and the allness and the fullness of this divine wisdom. And it is this wisdom that is breathing us. It is this wisdom, it is this love intelligence that is breathing us, that we live, move, breathe, and have our being in it and it in, through, and as each one of us. That we are individualized expressions of this one life, of this one love, of this one breath. So when we talk about breathing, and when we say take a breath, what we're really coming to realize and coming to understand that we of our own selves, we're not really breathing. But the fact is that Spirit, the divine, the one life, the one power is actually breathing us. That we are being breathed. That this one life is forever expressing itself through and as each individualized person, each individualized thing, each individualized life. That there is only the one life itself, breathing and expressing and being and living. And what was the word over here? Gloriously, right? Gorgeously. And so the theme for this month here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide is to breathe in the view. And so what does that mean that we're breathing in the view? Well, when we think about that we have been already on this year of exploring timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision, that we have been on this spiraling journey, this upward spiraling journey in consciousness, that we've kind of now here in November, we've kind of arrived at a place of higher consciousness than when we started at the beginning of the year, would you say? I hope so anyway. Right? So we've kind of arrived at this higher place, this higher state in consciousness, this higher, the greater awareness perhaps than what we began the year with. Because as we've talked about evolution, we can't have evolution. Evolution simply means forward movement, right? And we can't have evolution without the first four letters of the word EVOL, which when reversed spells love. So we are moving love forward. Evolution is nothing but love moving forward with a higher vision, a grander vision. Yeah. Delicious. Yeah, yum, right? Yummy. Oh, Wayne says, dude, I've been up since 7. I'm like, well, dude, I've been up since 4. So, it's true. All right. So it is this moving forward, it's this evolutionary forward. So today we have, on this particular journey of this year, we have kind of come to our summit. We've kind of come to our arrival place. And so we're looking at the view from here. And that's what we're talking about today, the view from here. Because when we take in that view, when we breathe in the view, what does it feel like when you stand on the mountain, Shawnee, when you're up there at the top of the mountains and you're driving down, coming back down from the cabin, that you see that view? What does that do? It feels expansive, right? It feels expansive. It feels broader. And there's this sense of awe, right? There's this sense of wonder when we're coming down from like Big Bear or Lake Arrowhead, and we're looking out, or just being up there, and we're looking out over the expanse of the valleys, the inland valleys. And we see this higher perspective. We look down and we see all of the world below us, and above us only sky. And there's just this sense of awe. yes? There's a sense of grandeur, yes? That evokes a feeling of gratitude. It just simply evokes a feeling of gratitude. So Ernest Holmes says this about our journey here. The ultimate goal of life does not mean that we shall ever arrive at a spiritual destination where everything remains static and inactive. That which to our present understanding seems like an ultimate goal will, when attained, be but a starting point for a new and further evolution. We believe in an eternal upward spiral of existence. We're forever growing, we're forever expanding. So the practitioners and the core council and the finance committee are all gathering this coming Friday night and Saturday morning for a workshop. I don't want to call it a retreat because we're not really retreating. We're advancing forward. So it's not about retreating, it's about advancing forward. So we're coming together for a workshop called Practicing to Thrive. And in preparation for the workshop, we have all been reading this fabulous book called Spiritual Economics by Reverend Eric Butterworth. And many of you may perhaps be familiar with the book. In chapter 5, he talks about a grateful heart. Perfect for this month. So it's no coincidence that this is unfolding during this month. But he talks about a grateful heart. And in the grateful heart, in this chapter, he writes, "It is a powerful insight to live by. Always get the view from the top. Before you react in negativity to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift up your eyes unto the hills. Contemplate all the changing, challenging experiences from the highest point of view. Regardless of appearances of conflicts or limitations, see things from the awareness of the allness of life and the ever-presence of substance. From the view from the top, you will see things creatively, leading to an attitude that is constructive and optimistic." So what he's encouraging us to do, and how this title for this came about as we were putting the themes together for 2021, what he's encouraging us to do is he's encouraging us to look from above, just like what we were talking about, coming back down from Lake Arrowhead or Big Bear, right? To get a higher perspective, to look from above rather than looking at our feet and only seeing this narrow worldview, but to look from above. So it is a lifting our eyes unto the hills. It's a lifting our eyes above the realm of effect, the realm of appearances, what may be going on, the realm of effect here and now. It is an opportunity to look above, to see higher, to get a higher perspective, a higher point of view, a point of view of spiritual truth, a point of view of spiritual knowing, a point of view of a larger, more cohesive, more interconnected, more interdependent perspective of life itself. Several of you are confusing me this morning because you're not in your right places in the center. You're getting a different perspective already. It's nice to see, right? Dinah's over here, Earl and Denise are here, Chester and Tamara over there. It's like, I'm very confused. So Trisha's here, so I mean, it's like, so it's about getting that higher perspective. And that is what we have been working toward and building toward this whole year, is to go through the year and getting greater perspective, a more expanded perspective of what life is and how life unfolds and how spirit works and how spirit continues to unfold in, through, and as each one of us, how it continues to unfold through our lives, as our lives, even through all of our circumstances. So this month we have an opportunity to really reflect upon, as Butterworth said, the challenges and the changes, the triumphs, the excitement, the joy. We have an opportunity to step back and reflect upon and see from a higher point of view, gain a larger perspective, gain a higher viewpoint for everything that has occurred. Because when we gain that higher viewpoint, when we see rightly, when we see from that higher perspective, we can see that, as we talked about last month, that each individual and the way we show up, the actions that we take, the choices that we make, have a direct impact and influence on the world around us, on the lives around us, on the people around us. We've talked last month about being emissaries of love, being emissaries of truth, being emissaries of the presence, going out and being love manifest, being peace manifest, being joy manifest. And so we can see then how life is interconnected. We can see that this person's choice, this person's decision to change lanes on the freeway has impact on everything else that moves. That there is nothing that is happening in isolation. And that really there is no other action or activity other than the action and activity of the one life, a spirit. Choose to call it God if you wish. But there is only one activity and one action happening, one thing occurring, and that is the one life, the one love, the one power, the one presence expressing itself wholly and perfectly. Because if in the beginning there was only one, and that one created absolutely everything, that there was nothing left out, that if that one did not create absolutely everything, then if that is the case, then all of it, everything, has to be the action and activity of the divine. There can be no other one, there can be no other power, there can be no other substance, there could be nothing against the one, standing opposed to the one. And so you say, okay, yeah, all right, got that theoretically, got that theologically maybe, but what about my life? What about the guy who cut me off on my way here on the freeway? What about the other things that have occurred in my life? What about the things that I have experienced, the challenges that I have experienced? Is that too the action and activity of God? In God, in spirit, all things are possible, yes. And it does not take away the fact that we live on this plane of existence. And one of the greatest gifts that we have is free will. The ability to choose, the ability to be present, the ability to come into alignment with the one life, the one power, the one presence. We also have the ability to forget this truth. And it is in forgetting the truth of who we truly are, when we forget that, then it is possible to do things and behave in ways and speak words and take actions that are not in alignment with the one power, the one presence, the one love, the one life. But it is not that there's a separate power at work. It is that we, or the beloved in front of us, or the beloved who cut you off on the freeway, perhaps has forgotten the truth. Perhaps has forgotten that we are interrelated, that we are interconnected, that we are interdependent, that we are only one, living and expressing and being. And so when we get this higher perspective, we see that there is only one. And when we see that there is only one, then what really comes forward is awe, is grandeur, is gratitude, and is compassion, is love. Because when I recognize that James and I are one, that there can be no separation between the two of us, that right here, the only thing that exists is love, how could I have anything against him or take any action against him or perpetrate any violence against him? And he toward me. Yes? So what we have the opportunity to do when we are experiencing our challenges, when we are experiencing these changes, when we are experiencing things, we did this a little bit earlier in the year, and I want to revisit this now, is we have the opportunity to look above, to look up. Remember we talked about looking up earlier in the year? Of looking up. Because when we get so focused on what's below or what's right in front of us or just right here, you can do this with me. Just look down for a moment. What do you see? Your perspective, your ideas, your whole world is very limited to what is meeting your immediate eyesight, yes? And then when you just slightly lift your eyes and to a more neutral focus, you're still seeing and you're still taking everything in. And maybe the feeling is a little bit more neutral at this point. But then when we lift our eyes, if you actually lift your eyes, we're looking above the realm of effect. And we're seeing rightly, we're seeing justly, we're seeing from a higher place. And so in this higher seeing, in this higher vision, we are able to see things, we are able to feel things, we are able to see different solutions, different possibilities. Because what we're seeing is we're seeing a higher truth. We're seeing from a higher perspective than if we're like this or this. We open to a greater possibility, a more expansive opportunity from which to live, from which to express, from which to experience, from which to be with one another, and to be with the challenges and the trials and the tribulations and the joys and the celebrations. Because when we see it from a higher perspective, it is amplified that much more. And we have the opportunity to bring gratitude to that. And that gratitude amplifies it even further. Because a grateful heart doesn't need something to be grateful for. It doesn't need something to be grateful for. A grateful heart is so full of love, is so full of awe, is so full of grandeur, is so full of greatness, grateful, so full of greatness. A grateful heart is so full that we are seeing from. We are seeing from the grateful heart. We are seeing from a place of higher consciousness. And as we change the way we see, what we see changes. Right? So it's not about being grateful for those things that happened in our life or those challenges or triumphs. We're not being grateful for those things, but we have the opportunity to come and be grateful from a place of deep understanding, a place of deep love, a place of deep knowing that there is just one life expressing, that it is forever supporting and maintaining and sustaining its beloved creation, which is us. You don't think it's doing that? Hold your breath. At some point, you're going to take another breath. Spirit is maintaining and sustaining you. Check in with your heart. Is it beating? Spirit is maintaining and sustaining you. It is forever giving. It is ever giving. Ernest Holmes calls the ever givingness love. Love is the ever givingness of the divine. Love. So, we come with a place of gratitude. We feel the expansion. When we see from a higher point, we feel an even greater expansion. So what if we bring these two things together? What do you think is going to happen? Bigger, greater, more expansive, deeper? All right. So let's do this in here for a moment. I invite you again to just think of perhaps a challenge you've experienced this year or you're going through now. It doesn't have to be a big one. You don't have to solve the world's problems right now, okay? Don't have to do that. Maybe it's just a small little irritant, right? That, something you're curious about, something that's puzzling you, something that might be a little bit troubling you. Just go ahead and think about that just for a moment. All right, now that you've got it, go ahead and look down. Look down at your feet. How are you feeling in this moment? Gaze is down. When you're contemplating or you're thinking about this challenge or that you're experiencing, is there a lot of possibility here staring at the floor? How are you feeling internally? You feeling hopeful? Down, scattered. Yeah, okay. Stuck. Small. Limited. Closed. All right, go ahead and just look straight out. And again, shifting with the contemplation here of the challenge that you're experiencing, just straight out. Notice your feeling now. What are you feeling in your body at the moment? A little bit more hopeful, a little bit more possibility, still somewhat limited, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more potentiality. Okay? So it's kind of a neutral space. It's a little bit more hopeful than this, right? A little bit more neutral, a little bit more hope. Now, what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to look up. Look up over my head, out through the window, perhaps beyond our rain cross symbol there. Just look up above. You don't need to crick your neck or anything like that, and we don't need to go to a chiropractor. Just use your eyes and look above. And for you at home or watching online, I invite you just to raise your eyes to where the ceiling and the wall meet in whatever room you're in. That's all the higher you really need to lift your eyes. And be present with the challenge. And how does it feel now? Really hopeful. Limitless. Surrender. A lot more peaceful. Open. I can see for miles and miles. Possibility. Now, keeping your eyes open, I'd like for you to open your heart a little bit more and just allow yourself to experience gratitude. Not grateful for something, just gratitude. Breathe in the view. The view from here. Transcendent. Transformative. Ineffable. That feeling that can't even be named. Joy comes close. Bliss might come close. But even those words are limiting. And allow yourself to be breathed. And return your gaze to its natural, whatever it wishes to light upon here. This is what we're talking about this morning. This experience right here. And it's ever available. Ever available in your life. It's taking a pause, taking a moment, lifting your eyes to the hills, breathing in, and expressing gratitude. Life is transformed. It is a direct experience of the divine. A direct experience of the divine love that is ever with you, never separate from you, always present, always knowing, always loving. And so it is. So I invite our practitioners and our core council and Tricia to please stand and surround the sanctuary. So these beloveds are in prayer for this beloved community every single day. Practitioners are available for prayer in the prayer room immediately following the service, just out the doors here and to your right. So I invite you to take advantage of prayer before you leave here this morning. So let's just come together in consciousness, shall we? Turning within, I recognize that there just is this one power, this one presence, this one infinite eternal that was in the beginning, that is always and forever will be. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Therefore, that when God cast its word upon the waters of consciousness, when Spirit cast its word upon the waters of consciousness, creating all of life, all of creation, absolutely everything that was created is a divine expression, impartation, emanation, and manifestation of this one life, of this one consciousness. And that which this one consciousness, this one spirit, this one life did not create was never, ever, ever created. Therefore, I know that all of life, all of creation, absolutely everything in the totality of the universe and beyond is this one life expressing itself wholly, totally, and completely in divine right order, in divine right action, in peace, in harmony, in love, in joy, in glorious, magnificent expression. Whether we can see it or not, it is. It simply is the isness and the allness and the fullness of one life, one power, one presence. And in this moment, I choose the word God, though even that word is limiting. I choose to know it. I choose to know this life, not by some word, but by having a direct experience of it as we've just experienced here. And I recognize that because there is only this one life, that it is the very essence and truest nature of who I must be as well. Because if there is only the one life and all of creation is an expression of this one life, then each one of us is a divine emanation, impartation, and manifestation of this one life. this one power, this one presence, this one love. It is the very who of who we are. There is nothing, no one, no separation. There simply is the one. And so I recognize that I stand here in the presence of the divine. I stand here in the presence of my brothers, my sisters, my siblings, recognizing each as the divine creation that each one is, as each as one with the one mind, as each one with the one power, the presence and love. It is the very who of who each one is. And so I speak my word here and now, the creative word, recognizing that thanksgiving, gratitude is a causative word, is a causative action. It is not a reaction, it is a causative energy. And so I speak my word in gratitude for this beloved community, for the great work that this beloved community does in the world, for the things that we come together and create and co-create with one another as community. I speak my word for this beloved community, this community of individualized expressions of love, of life, of joy, of harmony, of peace. I speak my word for this community. Knowing that each one lifts their eyes, and sees rightly, has a higher perspective, gains a higher perspective, understands and realizes, making real the interconnectedness, the interdependence, the oneness, bringing forth that oneness as life itself in full glorious expression, no matter how we walk or where we walk or what we do or the activities that we engage in, that the activities are divine, that the activity is the hands of God, it is the hands of the one life expressing we, our hands, our feet, our bodies, our mind, the vehicle through which the one life expresses, through which the one life experiences. And so I recognize that it is all good and very good because it could be no other way, because there is only good. I understand and I recognize that everything is unfolding under grace and in perfect ways because there is no other way for it to unfold other than grace, other than absolute perfection, because there is just the one. And so I speak my word for this community that we remember who we are. We remember that we are one with the one, that we are inseparable from anyone or anything. And we bring this consciousness of awareness and we bless each other and we bless the larger community, conferring prosperity and abundance of love, of joy, of peace upon the larger community, upon our neighbors and upon ourselves. How grateful I am to know this. How grateful I am, in the words of Reverend Dr. Homer Johnson, to take it upstairs, to go upstairs to that higher place of consciousness and to see rightly, to see justly. And how grateful I am to experience gratitude for the sake of experiencing gratitude alone. Oh, how grateful I am for the breath, for the heartbeat, for the ever-givingness of the divine. How grateful I am to simply be in the isness and the allness and the fullness and the presence. And so I release this now into the law and activity of the divine, knowing that it is done, knowing that it is already fulfilled, knowing that the word has been spoken upon the creative waters and it is done now. I simply allow it to be, and so it is. Amen.
Love